no, there are no graphical issues at all. Oh my god. Yo, what's up guys, it's Aptrix here. Finally we have one of the biggest brand new Nintendo Switch emulators for Android devices, which is based on the official RyujiNX Emulator Android. I am talking about the Kenji-NX, which is a fork version of RyujiNX Emulator with lot of brand new improvements. This is the official continuity of the RyujiNX Emulator for Android devices. It brings brand new feature, fixes lot of bugs, compatibility issues and much more. So officially today the Kenji-NX Emulator just got its Android release based on the version 2.0.3. You guys can read the announcement that after RyujiNX was shut down and the original Android project faded into limbo, many thought it was over, just like me, but now it's back stronger than ever thanks to the power of Kenji-NX, a blazing fast fork of RyujiNX Emulator Android, and the developer has revived the Android dream. I have already added the Kenji-NX emulator on my Android device. Kenji-NX is an open source Nintendo Switch emulator for Android devices, and if you talk about some of the features of this Nintendo Switch emulator, lot of brand new improvements have been done to increase the performance and provide one of the best Nintendo Switch emulation on Android experience. Now, as Kenji-NX is based on RyujiNX Emulator Android, which is officially the fastest Nintendo Switch emulator for Mali GPU Android devices, this is going to be actually very amazing. To start setting it up, we'll need to go to settings, afterwards go to user interface and make sure to import all the necessary Nintendo Switch stuff which we usually do for a Nintendo Switch emulator to work. So I'll just go ahead and do all of this stuff and I'll be back. Once you have imported all the necessary stuff, simply tap on the close button. Afterwards, if we just go ahead and go back, you'll be able to see all of my Nintendo Switch games have been successfully loaded in the KenjiNX/RyujiNX Android emulator. Now I'll just go ahead and go to user interface and disable grid layout, and you'll be able to see now the UI looks similar to this. RyujiNX was the best PC Nintendo Switch emulator of its own time with compatibility with almost all Nintendo Switch games. So this is going to be very amazing in terms of system settings. For VSync, we'll set it to unbounded. In terms of DRAM size, it is set to 4GB, but if you have lot of RAM, then you can also increase it. I'll go ahead and set it to 8GB. Afterwards, we'll turn on performance mode to get the best amount of performance possible. In terms of CPU settings, NCE has been enabled. Everything else you'll have to keep it as default. In terms of graphics, you'll be able to see shader cache has been enabled. Texture recompression is disabled. We'll keep it as default. In terms of resolution scaling, you can go all the way down to 0.5x resolution, but for today's video, we'll keep it at 1x resolution. You can also add the custom graphics driver, the Mesa Turnip Adreno drivers, to fix graphics in Nintendo Switch games as well as improve performance. Other than that, you don't really need to change anything. Everything has been almost pre-built inside this Nintendo Switch emulator. So what are we waiting for? Let's start testing out this emulator right away. The first game that we'll be trying out is going to be FIFA 23 Legacy Edition. If you guys have tried out the old RyujiNX Android build, you know it used to have lot of crashing issues, but now you'll be able to see our game has successfully started within few seconds. And unfortunately, it seems that we don't have an performance overlay, or I might have forgotten to enable it, so we don't really know the FPS. But nonetheless, as you guys can see, our FIFA 23 has successfully started on our Android device, and this emulator is working properly without any issues. So let's try playing FIFA 23 on my Snapdragon 8 Elite processor Android device and see if it does have graphical issues just like the Yuzu Emulator Android based forks such as Citron and so on. And let's tap the ready button. Now I am very surprised by how flawlessly this Nintendo Switch emulator is working, and there are no graphical issues at all. Oh my god, this is beyond belief guys. I always face graphical issues while emulating FIFA 23 on my Android device, but here you guys will be able to see literally even on Snapdragon 8 Elite processor Android device, we are not seeing any sort of graphical issues, and this is the power of RyujiNX emulator or the Kenji-NX emulator on Android. So I should call it KenjiNX emulator because the RyujiNX Android port was completely dead. The developer behind KenjiNX revived it and made it such an amazing Nintendo Switch emulator for Android devices. So today is a very special day where we finally have the best Nintendo Switch emulator for Android devices in 2025, officially crowned by Aptrix himself. So you guys know this is very amazing. I'll be testing it out on my Mali GPU Android device and low-end Android devices pretty soon. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification. But you guys can see this is literally console level Nintendo Switch emulation on Android devices with no graphical issues at all. Way better than any of the Yuzu Android ports. Now we'll just go ahead and exit game and try out a different game, which is going to be Pokemon Sword. So let's see how well does Pokemon Sword work on our Android device inside the Kenji-NX emulator. So here we go, our Pokemon Sword has successfully started. Let's see if the game works or crashes because Pokemon Sword requires a save file when starting a new game. To import a save file, we'll just go ahead and hold the game, afterwards tap on these 3 lines, and here you'll be able to manage updates, DLC and cache, etc. But I think to import the save file, you'll need to open the directory of KenjiNX Emulator the old fashioned way. And here we go guys, after importing the save file, you'll be able to see our Pokemon Sword has successfully started inside this emulator. Now adding or importing the save file inside this game was pretty hard, I'm not going to lie, but the results are actually very amazing and very impressive. You guys will be able to see I am playing Pokemon Sword on my Android device inside the KenjiNX emulator with no graphical issues at all. Even compare it with any other Nintendo Switch emulators like Citron, Skyline, Eden emulator or anything else, this is I guess the best experience in terms of graphics wise I have ever seen inside the Pokemon Sword. Let's go to a demanding scenario. We'll go to the meetup spot where there are a lot of 3D demanding areas, and let's see how well does this game perform. Now once the game actually starts, you will be able to see in open world areas there are indeed some stuttering issues, but that is just shaders being compiled. Once the shader compilation is completed, I am pretty sure the game will not lag. So basically you'll need to make sure to let the game load all the shaders for some time, and then when you reopen the game it will be much faster experience. But other than that, on my Snapdragon 8 Elite processor Android device, which hasn't heated up at all by the way, even though we are emulating Switch games, you will be able to see Pokemon Sword is working properly. Though there are a lot of stuttering issues, as I am able to see, once there are less demanding scenarios, the game is working at smooth 60 FPS. So performance wise we'll need to check it out, and I'll be comparing it against the Eden emulator as well. Eden as well as Kenji-NX are currently the two kings of Nintendo Switch emulation on Android devices. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.